Welcome to the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. This week, I drive a big V8 beast. Kyle goes and drives a new electric vehicle. Another electric vehicle is ready to get dirty, and there may be a third really cool electric vehicle on the way. But first, a word from our sponsor. eBay Motors is here for the ride. Your elbow grease, fresh installs, and a whole lot of love transformed 100,000 miles and a body full of rust into a drive entirely its own. Brake kits, LED headlights, whatever you need, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber and not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Okay, so kicking off this week, we are going to talk about something I got to drive. It was a Ford Mustang.
The third one we've driven this year.
But this was the GT with the track pack. And you drove last year the GT without the track pack.
And then this year I drove the Dark Horse and the EcoBoost convertible. So we're getting the whole family in.
So this was my first new Mustang. I was at the launch of the last gen in 2015, and I drove my last new one. Wow, it was that long? Jeez. In 2020. So it's been a while.
You drove one with me. We did a Supra comparison like a little bit ago. It was the vanilla ice version. Remember? It was like all white.
Wow, that's how memorable it was. So that is a perfect segue into what I was going to say is I never really liked the last gen. I mean, V8 was cool, made cool noises, and I mean, you could do burnouts, but the chassis, the engine, and the transmission always kind of seemed a little bit at odds. It was a muscle car, but there existed the Challenger and the Camaro at the same time, and the Camaro was the driver's one, and the Challenger was better at making V8 noises and doing burnouts. So it was kind of lost. They're both dead now, and Ford could have literally just kept the same Mustang going and kept sales up. I mean, it sells, but they brought out a new one, and the new one is so good. I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed it. The track pack makes a lot of the difference, and I think it's a must if you're getting the GT. I mean, yeah, it's a couple of $1,000s more, but sort of why go halfway? Like if you just want a Mustang, get the EcoBoost. If you want a manual V8 Mustang, throw in the track pack because all the bits you get, I said in my video, it feels like an oversized BRZ, and I stick to that. Like it really is responsive to what I do in the car. I didn't drive the Dark Horse, but I remember you saying it didn't feel much better than a GT.
Outside of like the tires are much grippier. But yeah.
And that's the thing. Like the track pack gets tires in between a regular GT and this, and yeah, that's part of the fun, and sort of why I call it a BRZ is it's easy to break the tires loose between first and second, third gear shifts into a corner. But unlike the old model, this one isn't ready to just snap around and find the nearest pedestrian. It's very controllable and just fun, and the noise it makes. I cannot believe the exhaust is legal. I've told you before, but when I was taking pictures and doing my filming, I was at a lot, a town lot, and some police were there, and we started chatting about the car, and they couldn't believe the normal mode was normal and how loud the sport was. And I said, yeah, I wasn't even in the track mode, which allegedly is louder. I mean, I couldn't tell in the car, but let's just say you can't really drive the car hard without getting a lot of attention, and being grabber blue, it's easy to spot who's making the noise.
It's true. Yeah. I find it interesting. Like I'm happy you really enjoyed it. When I had that non-track pack or performance pack GT last year, the yellow one, I liked it because it wasn't a track pack, or again, performance pack. Because it's a muscle car, well, a pony car, whatever you want to call it. In my mind, a Mustang should always be just, I'm sorry, Ford, if you're listening to this, but just like a little sloppy. Like I want it to just be like a little fun and playful and soft, whereas this gets more harder, and that's fun. But I really liked the softer appeal of the non-performance package one. But I agree with you that like this one definitely has appeal. It's just a different type of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind being a bit sloppy like this is compared to the Dark Horse. It's just the other one I always felt disconnected. So it was kind of like and I drove a lot of versions back in the day. I remember I drove the GT350, which was amazing. I mean, that's a whole different level of car. Like that one separate from all of that generation, as that
I'm
was
still
a special
jealous.
car. I drove both the previous and the two previous GT500s, and those were just monsters. But yeah, it's a good car. If there's only one V8 pony car left, it's the Mustang, and I'm always going to call it a trackback.
Yeah, always.
So moving on to the next vehicle, you went and drove an EX90, which was something we've been waiting a while to get behind the wheel of.
Yes, it feels like it's been a long time. It hasn't been that long. Volvo debuted it back in 2022. It's just that, yeah, there were teases beforehand, right? So we've known this was coming for a long time. And the XC90, which, side note, a lot of my video, I had to cut takes because I kept saying CX90 because the X is now moved in this one, and it messes with your brain. But that's a Mazda. That's a different thing entirely. Yeah, so we've been waiting for this, and it's hugely anticipated because it's the all-electric version of the flagship model, right? It's the 3-row SUV, and as we know, there aren't a whole lot of those in the EV space right now outside of the Model X, if you want to egg with Falcon doors. There's the EV9, but that's not really a luxury model. And there's the Rivian. Right? Yeah, and the EQS, but the EQS is tight. Yeah, so
it's the Model X.
True, and actually, I mean, this isn't much better. The rear seats are for kids or maybe adults for short trips, but they're there if you need them. So I have a lot of feelings about this car, SUV, whatever, because the basics are good. Volvo has nailed them. It's very smooth. It's very comfortable in that EV way. The company has really worked on smooth throttle applications, so you get a really nice gradual tip in, even though it's 510 horsepower. So very serene. The problem is that it is so tech focused, like a lot of current cars, and those tech features haven't all been integrated as well as they could have, or they're not even there yet. For example, adaptive cruise control. Most cars that have it, you can adjust the distance. That's not in the EX90 right now. It's just not there.
Did Tesla buy Volvo when we weren't looking?
Keeley had a really good deal for it. Yeah, there's that missing. No CarPlay or Android Auto, although we were told that's days away, so it should be there when customers are getting their hands on them. There were some weird things with the card as a key or the phone as a key, where the car wouldn't recognize they were against the door handle, so it wouldn't lock. And because Volvo doesn't believe in on-off switches for its EVs, there's no way to turn the car off or like manually. So if this didn't lock, we had to get in and back up, park again, and then try and see if it would work. Yeah, it was just there's another thing, some sort of electric thing that I'm missing. Oh, the rear view camera is very low res for being a brand new car, and a low choppy frame rate. There's just these weird things, and I think a lot of that can be fixed with future updates. The backup camera might need to be new hardware, but it's good. The infotainment is good. It's a new system that's very easy to use. I don't like this. You and I both play video games, and we're very aware of the idea of a game launching needing updates, and it seems like we're now in that space for cars.
Well, Gran Turismo 5 set the benchmark, and now the cars are falling out. I can't wait till the loot boxes start showing up on the DLC for the EX90.
Shift into drive, you might get drive. Who knows?
Pay $100 and you'll get 10, 20, maybe 100 horsepower. I'm driving a car right now that does not have an on-off button as well, and also has a let's just say not unreliable, just finicky locking mechanism. So I get it. Well, I mean, like you said, you drove an early one. By the time it gets to consumers, a lot of this may have been addressed. We'll have to see. The best way is when it is in consumers and it comes on fleet. We'll take it for a week, and
yeah, we'll see what updates we have.
All right, moving on. Hyundai is making an off-road version of the Ioniq 5. Finally. So
I have a question, Mike, before you get into anything. Is this a render and they forgot to render the front bumper? What I don't
that's how it's coming painted. Well, at least a paint scheme, I guess. I sure hope that's paint, not cladding. I hope that's not just all plastic on the front and around the wheels. I mean, protects it. But so this is I wouldn't say a no-brainer because it's still unmarked territory, but it's just so easy to do these things. And the Mustang rally, sorry, Mach-E rally, kind of set the precedent, and they went all in. Hyundai's gone more for the Toyota Crown look, but with big chunky tires, and I think it's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
I hope it works, and I hope down the road we get a 5N off-road, and I even know what it could be called. The Ioniq 5 end of the road.
Ah, Hyundai, you've got the idea right here.
Royalties. I want a penny on every car you sell. I'll have $1.
The whole lineup gets an update though, right? Including a new plug.
Yeah, the NACS. Like, I always get it wrong. The Tesla plug.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's good. It's a more reliable network.
For now, we'll see.
Oh yeah, no, for now, because it's just Teslas. Once everybody and their brothers plugging in, it's I don't know if they know what's coming, but I can't complain because I live in an area where I have the choice of everything everywhere. There's just so many plugs, so
it's true.
Lucky me. Speaking of an EV, a executive from Nissan told, I think it was in Australia, he made the announcement that they're in the very, very, very early stages of potentially developing a new Silvia that would be an EV. And before all the Silvia fans freak out, that's a SX for us North Americans. I think it's a fantastic idea. And I'll explain why.
Okay, well, you explain why first.
Because I've always said, like, we all know there's so much performance potential in electric motors and cars. And if you could have a smallish platform that, like the Silvia was basically a compact coupe.
Yeah.
And you just put you put in your littlest, most inexpensive motor in the back, like the Leafs even. That's a 200 horsepower rear drive motor that's going to have ridiculous torque, a decent size, smallish battery. And yeah, you can make it like as stylish as you want, because you don't have to worry about conventional things like radiators and engines. And you can just make a crazy little coupe that's just fun to drift and do burnouts in, as long as the price is right. So and I think it could start a whole segment.
I think that's in theory, I agree with a lot of that, because if you took the smallest battery from, let's say, the Aria, or well, the Leaf is outdated tech, so maybe the Aria's smaller battery pack, but then just the rear motor, you're looking at 200-ish horsepower, and yeah, if you make the rest of it, because you're not fitting an SUV body, you're just fitting a coupe, and maybe it's a 2+2. Maybe.
I think you just could, because you have the space. Might as well.
Yeah. And so you could probably keep the weight reasonable for an EV, and then you're not giving it a ton of power, and you could really sort of corner the currently untapped market of essentially like an EV Miata, where it's about driving fun. It's not about quickness. And that could be fun. I just want to point out, though, that it says electrified. And so it could be a hybrid of some sort, or a plug-in, although Nissan doesn't have plug-in hybrids for us on this side of the pond. But any way that you look at it, it's like it's an untapped thing. And I think it could be a lot of fun.
He also said something important there. They don't have any plug-in hybrids here. And if they make this, there's a good chance it may not be here either. This could be a Japan-only thing. But I think making it a hybrid or plug-in hybrid will actually be worse than an EV. And I know, everyone that loves gas cars is going to complain. But then you have so much tech jammed in a little car. Now the weight goes up and you're not getting the same power. I mean, it's
true.
Like you said, if they can keep this well under 4,000 pounds with a 200 horsepower, 250 pound-foot torque electric motor, that give it line lock and all sorts of crazy stuff, you'd be fine. But
yeah, keep it around like 3,300 pounds, and it's just rear drive, and you're basically at old Silvia specs.
But yeah, well, if it ever shows up in a couple of years. Remember I can't remember the name now. It's been so long, but their rear coupe that was supposed to fight the
IDX.
IDX, yes, we never saw that.
Yep.
Oh, we saw it. We never got it.
Yeah.
So moving on to a different kind of powertrain, you got to drive the AMG S63 E Performance, which is a lot of words.
It is, yeah, and it is a lot of car. It weighs as much as an F-150 Raptor. That's an important stat.
I'm driving right now, and it's much smaller.
Yeah, it's but it also has over 1,000 pound-feet of torque. This thing is, so from a rational perspective, I don't see any purpose in it. It's in Canada $270,000 because it has the Edition 1 package, which is 30 grand on its own. In the US, the closest equivalent build is something like 220, 225. You could buy the regular plug-in S-Class and get most of the experience. Obviously, it's not as quick, but you still get, well, at that point, you get a lot more range, EV range. This is not a plug-in hybrid dedicated to any electric range. It's measured in low double digits. It's just about added boost of performance, and it really is effortless performance. No matter what you want to do, this car is quick and it's super comfortable because it's an S-Class, and it feels like a flagship in a way that an EQS AMG doesn't.
But Kyle, if we all bought cars purely on a rational, it'd just be Mitsubishi Mirages, stripped out minivans, and work trucks on the road, and nothing.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like acknowledging that people are gonna go in and say, no, look, I want the best S-Class. I don't want an SL or a coupe or anything. I want a big, comfy sedan that also hauls serious behind. Then yeah, you've got it. And
There you
in
go.
that way, it does everything well. And it's one of those cars where you get into diminishing returns, where it's like, what? Why even spend more money on like a even more luxury car? Like, how much nicer can you really get?
And I know Mercedes always likes to put their cars gray. I don't know why. It used to be black. At least they switched up, but the right color, I think, could look amazing too. It's a nice style.
Yes. Oh, one weird thing about this. There is an option for a 3D digital instrument cluster, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the first example of a German car maker borrowing a feature from a Korean car maker. I don't think that's happened before. But
Probably not. Hey, we're back to Volvo. So, not the EX90. This is the XC90. So, not the EV. This is the gas / plug-in hybrid / whatever they're going to give us. It's got a new look with more tech and better cabin.
Yeah, it does. It's weird because we all kind of thought the EX90 was going to replace this, but now Volvo is walking back its all EVs by 2030 thing, which everyone's doing, right? And I mean, I'm a big proponent for EVs in most situations, but that's exactly what Volvo said in their presentation when they revealed this, is that it makes sense for a good chunk of people, but not everyone. And so for those people, Volvo is going to continue with plug-in hybrids and mild hybrids. And that's what this has. And look, I really like the XC90. It's, excuse me, already a decade old, but it's still one of the vehicles that I would suggest to people looking for a car in this class. And now it looks nice. It looks different. I'm not going to say better or worse, just different. And the tech inside borrows from the EX90, and it's good new tech. So I think it's a win. We'll see if it stays competitive for another decade.
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, every company's walking it back that made these promises. It's like, we had all these promises and government regulations put in place, but we didn't have the infrastructure, the affordable technology. So we'll get there one day. Does this still have the full pillar taillights? That's what I've always loved about the EX90s.
It does. Yeah, the taillights are the same. They're just in darker lenses now.
Fancy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for our news. There's actually been a lot of news this week, but that's all we got time to cover. We are going to take a very quick break and come back with our question of the week. Then Kyle's going to sit down and talk to Ford about their newest off-roader, which might surprise you. And I'll talk F1 with Colin, and we'll give you a little update on what's ahead. So this is the Auto Guide Show brought to you by eBay Motors, and we'll be back in a second. eBay Motors is here for the ride. With the parts you need at the prices you want, and with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, they're guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. And just like that, we are back. So this week, the question is, what is a vehicle you can't believe doesn't exist yet? And this can be interpreted however you want. An entire segment of vehicle that hasn't been created yet, or a specific vehicle that's already out there. Why don't they have blank trim of it yet? So Kyle, you seem to be just sitting there ready to give us an answer. So I'll let you go first.
I am good to go on this one. So I will say that it has existed. It currently doesn't, and it should again in a few years. But for right now, There are no EV convertibles.
That's a good point.
At all. There was the original Tesla Roadster, of course, which was a very heavily modified Lotus Elise. And then in a couple years, there will be the Polestar 6, which looks incredible. I got to see a version of it in Goodwood earlier this summer, and it'll be very high performance. But until then, no one's really looking at that market. And I mean, I get it. It's not like convertibles are a huge segment in their entirety.
Well, I think in North America specifically, we overdid it about 20 years ago. Remember when you get hardtop convertible everything?
Yeah.
Pontiac G6 and Sebring. I don't know if that had hardtop, but and they were all useless once the top folded. Remember the Infinity, the
and the
G37?
IS. Well, the
IPL.
Yeah,
fold your top, and there was like no trunk at all.
Yeah, and the Sebring was weird because you could get a folding hardtop, a folding soft top, and a coupe, and it was like, what? Why?
Well, seniors need choice.
Yeah, so that's my pick. I'm hoping that maybe because of the modular capabilities of EVs that we could see more drop tops in the future.
Well, I'm gonna take the huge cop out here because I already talked about it. Is I want that relative low power enthusiast EV market. I mean, it doesn't have to be rear; it could be front. The Leaf is not performance, and neither was the Bolt, but like that's all you need. Just put into the right chassis and drivetrain, and you could have a ton of fun. So
yeah,
I know that would probably still be like a $35,000 to $40,000 car, which is asking a lot in the US because in Canada you're probably pushing 50. But you know what? The Miata's starting to creep up there, so
yes,
not unheard of. So, do you have a specific car out there that you're just looking at, like why?
Yes, but I feel like I talked about it recently. I don't know if it was on a recent episode of the podcast or not.
Okay.
Maybe it was last week's. Shoot. Anyway, well, I'm just gonna go with it. Again, GR Camry. Like, stick the.
That was last week.
It was last week. Nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, but it's good. Put the Crown drivetrain in there. Makes total sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes so much sense.
Not the Crown Signia, the other one.
Yeah. That hybrid powertrain's already in the Camry now.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's mine. I'm just gonna keep doing it. Hit that drum until Toyota delivers.
And it's like it's win-win because the Camry is a NASCAR, so now you can GR Camry all your stuff all over your NASCAR. I mean, I know they don't have as many teams as they used to, but still. So mine is not as cool, but it's just why not? Why is there no CRV Trail Sport? Like everyone else has an off-road version of their compact. As much as some are just stickers and tires. Like there's the Meridian, there's the Wilderness. Toyota has the Woodlands or something.
The Woodlands for the hybrid, and then the Trail or the Adventure in the US for the gas, and then Rogue now has Rock Creek.
It has Rock Creek, and I know I'm forgetting a whole bunch right now, but yeah, like they have that name and it's on their passport, their Pilot. So like, get it on the CRV already.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen? Wait, it's also on the truck too, right? So literally the only thing missing it is the CRV. Well, and I guess the HRV, but let's not talk about that. It's got to be for the refresh then, right? Like, and give it 2 years, and there will be a CRV Trail Sport.
And I mean, the three we mentioned are all semi-related platforms, so I get it. But you don't have to go crazy. Like, you don't have to go full Subaru Wilderness. I mean, the Kia and Hyundai off-road versions are not that off-roady. They just they're excellent. Yeah. So
XRT.
It's what people want. So I'm just surprised they haven't gone there yet.
Give the people what they want.
Exactly. All right. So that wraps up our question of the week. Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, you answered one.
I did.
Short-term memory.
Yeah.
I'm losing it. So that wraps up our question of the week. We are now going to have a longer break. We'll get a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, Kyle is going to be talking to Ford about the newest member of the Bronco Sport family. eBay Motors is here for the ride. Okay, everyone, let's take a minute and talk about the one that got away. The vehicle you once owned and for whatever reason had to get rid of, and to this day fully regret ever doing so. For me, it's my Subaru SVX. It was a 1997 model, which was one of the last years it was ever sold here. It was black on the outside and it had the beige leather and suede interior. It was in amazing condition for its age because it was just a one-owner vehicle. The interior was near flawless. The paint was pretty good considering it was about a 20-year-old car when I got it. I just loved everything about it. I loved the quirkiness because I love oddball cars. I love the window within the window, the power button on the gear shifter, the way the dash was laid out and you could hide the radio behind the fake wood panel. The flat six was just so smooth and it was all-wheel drive, and although it wasn't overly quick, it still had enough power. The problem was, within a year of buying that car, I ended up selling it because I got a great deal on another vehicle. And to this day, I regret doing so. Part of the reason I sold it was, although it was in great shape, it wasn't perfect and there were things that needed to be fixed, like the air conditioner, reservoir, some bearings, and other bits. And back then there was no eBay guaranteed fit program, so finding parts for such a rare 20-year-old car was not easy. Luckily, I sold it to someone who not only cared for it, but took the time to fix it up, and every once in a while I do get to still see it, and I still regret ever getting rid of it. I am constantly online looking for a new SVX because now I have a system that I can find parts for it, but I haven't come across one that's both in the right condition and the right price range. With over 122 million parts, you can make sure your number one ride or die stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber and not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
Hello everyone, welcome back. We are here at the Drive Festival at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and we have a special guest here with us.
Hi everyone, I'm Scott Kuzma. I'm the vehicle line manager for our enthusiast vehicles at Ford of Canada.
And that means we are sitting in the 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. And this one is a little different this year. Scott, you want to explain what it is?
Yes, this year for 2025, we've redesigned the Bronco Sport inside and out. Starting on the outside, we did carry over a lot of the sheet metal, but it has a new sleeker design, especially at the front with the updated grille, updated lower fascia, some refined lights. Really, where the updates come in is in the capability and functionality of Bronco Sport. We took a lot of the learnings from 4 years of selling Broncos and Bronco Sports within the Bronco family to really up the capability of this vehicle, because customers are telling us that they're almost 3.5 times more likely to take the vehicle off-road. And when I say off-road, they're not all climbing up mountains. They're going to the cottage, they're going fishing, they're going camping, right? So they're more likely to do that. They're 2 times more likely to go camping. And then a third of the time, anywhere they're going, the car's full of cargo. So we really wanted to make it, as we refine the vehicle, address that as well. Because not only can you make the vehicle capable, they want to bring their toys with them when they're going, right? Mm-hmm. So it does make sense. So we brought what we call the Bronco Bolt philosophy to Bronco Sport. So it made everywhere on the vehicle where you see a bolt with the Bronco name on it, it allows customers to customize the vehicle. So up in the front grille, in the back, in here in the interior, there's Bronco bolts where they can use an Allen key and remove things. So customers tell us they really want to accessorize this vehicle, so we made it easy for them. On the side of the car, we added latch hooks that spring out. So you can put a canoe on the top. You can wrap it. Yeah, like you can tie. Make it easy to transport that cargo that they tell us that they're doing. So we really wanted to do that and make it easy for them, so they can enjoy the outdoors. That's what it's all about with this vehicle, right? Getting deep into the outdoors, what we call getting deep into the wild.
Yeah.
Powertrain wise, they're carryover. You still have our 1.5 liter, which is the main powertrain, but for customers that want a little more performance, we have our 2 liter. Those are our Badlands customers, so they can get deep. They can have some fun. But like I said, the refresh is all about this interior. You're sitting in it now. You see, if you've sat in previous, you understand where the seats are much more comfortable, much more refined. You see the Raptor-inspired dash, 12.3-inch dash, lots of cool little graphics, especially when you toggle through the 5 standard GOAT modes that come on Bronco Sport. You see the 13.2-inch screen, which is it's a touch screen, so that's how you navigate through our infotainment system, which comes with Sync 4, your Apple CarPlay, your Android Auto, all that fun stuff. The center stack down here, that's what we call our customizable bring your own device holder. Whether you put your phones in here, and like I talked earlier, you can remove that grab handle if you want, because then you can affix. I've seen people put GoPro cameras, they do different things. You've done yours in the windshield, but some of our enthusiasts like to record their drive. They can either put it here or use one of the USB jacks that we've actually added up here, and they can plug in and they can affix it to the windshield as they're driving through the bush.
Gotcha.
But the big news for 2025 is the addition of Sasquatch. It is one of our most popular packages on Bronco. Almost 40% of our customers take the Sasquatch package when it's available. They love that getting outdoors. They love those bigger wheels, the enhanced suspension. So we've brought it to Bronco Sport, and it comes with you've seen them outside, the 29-inch tires, the Goodyear tires. That is standard. It has enhanced Haas 3, what we call Haas 3.0, which is the suspension in the rear that comes with the Bilston shocks that really help refine that ride when you're going off-road. The dual clutch differential in the back helps control that power when you're going off-road and you want to keep yourself on the road. You can move up to 100% of the power to one wheel as you're cornering in the sand. We have cool technology like trail control, which we had previously, but we've stepped it up this year with the one pedal drive. So it really takes the brake out of the equation. You're just using the gas to go slowly through the trail. With trail controls like your cruise control for off-roading, you use your gas to go back and forth and go over the pedal. So we really tried to bring that off-road experience, that technology to our customers, because like I said, they're telling us they like to go take what they're using the vehicle for, so we really wanted to enhance that experience.
And you're saying you've brought this to more people this year because it's not just available on the big engine stuff anymore, right? The Sasquatch package.
That is correct. The Sasquatch is available on this vehicle is Outer Banks, which is a 1.5 liter, and also available on our 2 liter, which is with Badlands. So yes, the 2 different options for Sasquatch. And even on Big Bend, we have an off-road variant as well. It's called the Black Diamond package. Different package altogether, but same for that. Kind of Big Bend's more of our entry-level customer. Allows them to get a little, you'll have a little more fun off-road as well. Could add some bash plates and different things to the vehicle to let them have some off-road experience.
And you're talking about putting things up on the tent with the really cool hooks that are just integrated into the fenders, which I really like. But also, I'm looking up and we have auxiliary switches. Like, what other option in this segment has those?
Exactly. like between Bronco and Bronco Sport, and the customers love the toys. They love to accessorize the vehicles, whether they're trail lights, different GoPros. So we've enabled with the Sasquatch package. It does come with the upfitter switches, so you're able to hook up and run them right from the car, as opposed to adding a switch on the dash, which is kind of ugly, like some people do, and like you used to have to do. Now we integrate it into the vehicle.
So bringing Sasquatch to Bronco Sport, I know that you have a lot of different names involving the Bronco family, right? We have Everglades, we have Raptor. How important was it to make it specifically Sasquatch?
The heritage of the brand. We've 4 years of history. We've really seen, like I said, 40% of our customers are choosing Sasquatch package. It's created its own brand in itself. You go to talk to some of our. Was just at a Ford, what we called Ford Festival a couple of weeks ago in Flamborough. They had their Bronco club was called the Sasquatch Club. So they actually showed up with a bunch of Broncos all decked out with all their toys and whistles, and they were celebrating not only Bronco, but they all had that thing in common, which they all had a Sasquatch package. So it's really important for us to celebrate that heritage. We also unconfirmed reports that it's owed to the Bigfoot monster truck of the 80s. A Bigfoot, obviously otherwise known as Sasquatch. Big wheels, if you remember that from Monster Truck days. Big wheels, lots of fun. It was a Ford, so it's a nod to that heritage as well.
Nice. I like that. You know, we just had the Heritage Limited Edition Bronco, the two-door, for testing a few weeks ago, and Mike and I were talking about how insanely cool that looks out on the road, and I'm seeing, you know, like the hints with the bronze here. Like there's enough family resemblance. I know that it's not the same thing, but that's the thing is, like, there's relations. You see those connections there.
Exactly. We call it Broncofied. We bring a lot of the technology, but a lot of the characteristics as well. Because when we launched the brand, I think when we brought it back, I don't think people were surprised Bronco was coming back, because it was kind of the longest tease ever that it was coming back.
It's true.
But when we came back, I think people were shocked to see that it wasn't just the big Bronco, the two-door and the four-door, that we had a small SUV, a rugged SUV, all around 4x4, rugged look and styling that can go off-road. I think they were surprised. And from our perspective, when we talk to customers, they come in all shapes and sizes, but also what they're doing with the vehicle off-road comes in different shapes and sizes. There's people that live in downtown Toronto that like to go off-roading, or to the cottage, or go wherever on the camping on the weekend. Maybe a big Bronco's too big for them. This will get them there, right? So we saw the opportunity to expand our entry into for these customers, these enthusiasts, these off-road enthusiasts, give them options. And that's why we've had lots of comments today about this looks a lot more like a Bronco, and I think that was by design. We really wanted to bring it closer and show that it's part of the same family.
Excellent. Thank you. One final question for you, Scott. I mean, I got to ask, because, you know, this is a lot more capable. So what are the natural competitors that you see against specifically a Sasquatch-equipped Bronco Sport, or Brospo as I like to call it?
The Brospo. So our main competitor, we have basically two. We have the Subaru Forester and the Crosstrek, kind of both of those. Crosstrek kind of at the lower end, the Forester is kind of at the higher end, and the Jeep Compass. They are kind of the two the big competitors in terms of the capableness. Obviously, the Toyota Rav Trail that they have is also a pretty capable vehicle. They sell it in very low volume, but if you look at matching side by side, that would be in terms of looks, in terms of that would be close to what it would be the same in terms of competitors.
Gotcha. Well, I look forward to driving it later this year or early 2025 for the Sasquatch package. Scott, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us about this. And yeah, it was great.
Thank you. Thank you. Great meeting you.
Thanks. All right, we are good.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We once again have Colin Wood on to talk about Formula One, all the news and rumors. This week was a little slower finally, but there's still a lot happening.
Yeah, there's never ceases to be plenty of things. As we were talking just before we got on here and hit live, maybe one of the first thing is not a rumor, but some actual fact, which is hard to come by these days. And that's that the Vegas GP this year will actually have a support race. They had none last year. It's kind of surprising to think there weren't any. And so the lucky support race for this year will be the Ferrari Challenge. So that means a bunch of millionaires / billionaires get to, pound out their cars on the track in Vegas, which is probably a very cool experience. So.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it would. I mean, last year, no support race kind of makes sense because it was new, and it was a good thing there wasn't, because they had to fix the track.
Yeah.
So they would have to cancel the other races. But yeah, it's interesting they picked the Ferrari Challenge. I guess they needed one that runs in North America, and they can bring their Ferraris out and rip around the track and cause carnage. And
huge promo for Ferrari too, right? And I think it's good. It's true. Like, if you think there's no support races, man, there's a lot of downtime. You show up there, you get your seats like hours early, and there's just nothing going on, right? Like, I guess you can look around at all the pretty lights in Vegas, but it should be really good to see something else. And my friend of mine from a former life was actually a driving instructor, and he actually was hired once to help out a Ferrari Challenge driver. Who these guys are, again, usually these are gentleman drivers, right? But he was super impressed. He was and he didn't use those terms lightly. He was like, these guys really go for it. He said like they actually have way more skill than you would think. They're not just, it's not just all money, and they take it very seriously. So could be good. And I think also there's some banging and crunching in those series as well. So
Oh yeah,
nothing like
there'll be
some
some
Ferraris.
Some arm code that'll have to be fixed before. Yeah,
I bet there will be. So moving on to the rumors section, maybe the first thing, it seems like there's been this, obviously the Red Bull dropping and McLaren rising, and I guess the discussion had been brought up that McLaren and Mercedes have these flexi wings. That this seems like it's always a discussion. I don't know how they don't stop this entirely. And if you watch, there's all kinds of videos online where it clearly looks like the McLaren's wings bend a whole heck of a lot. But I guess it's been investigated, and apparently the FIA said no concerns here, so we're going to let it ride. So I think we'll see if that that looks like whatever is the wind in the sails of McLaren is not going to let up anytime soon. So
yeah, I saw some posts online too showing the McLaren's wing bending, but I think they can all bend to a degree. And the big post I saw was, look, there's just bending so much more. How can they not see this? And it's like, what speed, what track was that image from? And where's the one to compare it against the other? Like, I think they all bend. They've always bend. They even have markers on them to show you how much they're bending, because that's how the FIA knows. So
yeah, and again, I'm sure the FIA is paying attention to all this. And what looks like a big bend to us could be, that is a big bend, but it's within the rules. So that's it, right? The rules are the rules, and the FIA is pretty strict about that stuff. So
yeah, it's like, here, look at how much it's bending in DRS at Monza compared to look how much it's bending at some like city
Monaco
track where they never.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting around.
Always anything online is always fully straightforward truth. No manipulation.
It's the great line from Spinal Tap when the guy says, "I believe everything I read. I think it makes me a well-rounded person." So I think that that quote has come up more times than I can imagine. So another bit of I guess actual fact. We saw that from the last race, K-Mag he has enough penalty points in his license that he's getting a one race ban. So he's out for the Azerbaijan race, and will come back for Singapore. And it was only as of we're recording this now on the Friday, that they're actually they announced their stand-in for him, because just the driver is banned doesn't mean the car is, right? So they could put somebody else in. So Ollie Bierman gets the call up, which is another his second showing for the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a preview of his ride for next year, and one of two things can happen. I think next week is he comes in and he has a absolutely terrible race now that he's not in a top car, and some reality sets in, and he's back there running with the back like 5 to 6, or maybe he exceeds expectations, gets some points, and we never see Kevin again.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be interesting. Like Kevin just never comes back in the car for the year. That'd be wild.
Like, you're not here next year. This guy is. He just got us some points. It's been great. See you later.
Yeah. Wow. I never even thought of that. That'd be bonkers. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I think it'll be rough for him coming in. The last time he was driving Sainz's Ferrari, so this won't be nearly as much fun for him, I imagine. Although maybe less pressure too, right? Like no one's saying you got to kill it. You just got to go out and not crash, pretty much. So the funny story out of this, I saw, it was an interesting thing. I think I saw on Instagram that now when K-Mag comes back, if he does in Singapore, the points on your super license, like they expire, the penalty points. So he starts from scratch again, and he's going to be now with 7 races left in his career, and he's always been known to be a elbows out kind of a guy, and he can get his elbows out as far as he wants, because there's
wide open now.
Like, what's the penalty? There's nothing can happen to you that can really impact him or the team. So we might see the feistiest K-Mag yet. So that could be. I wouldn't want to be near him. That's all I can say.
If he gets back in the car.
There you go. I like your theory, Mike's. You've planted it here today.
I mean, you'd have to do exceptional, I think, for that to happen. But like, imagine he podiumed. Like, how could you not?
Oh yeah.
The car?
Oh, you have to have a very serious contention. I mean, I have crap. If we're talking about Haas getting on the podium, Mike, where you know,
First
I mean,
lap, first 7 positions all taken out.
there you go. Just some massive, catastrophe, and then everyone just shoots off. So, so beyond that, I mean, I think the big ongoing news is, and there was a lot of it out of Monza, was the the McLaren. First of all, Lando Norris losing another more positions at the start. He can never seem, even if he gets pulled, never seems to finish on the front after the first lap. And then Piastri just gave it to him, right? Like, he just went in there and took that spot. And McLaren has not said, this is Lando's, he's the championship contender. There obviously must be some, what they call them, papaya rules they were talking on the race. Like, it just seems like their sort of indecision and letting them battle it out could very much hurt Lando's chance at getting a championship here.
Oh yeah, I mean, everyone by now probably saw Will Buxton's rant about it.
It was wild.
Yeah, and
Like,
he's not wrong, because I get what they're trying to do. Like, we don't have a number one, blah blah blah. But the first time when Lando got the lead, because they pitted backwards and then they made him give it up to Piastri, like, that shouldn't have happened in my opinion. But I get why it did. It was his first win ever, and you know what? Let him have the win. He deserved it. But this race, how he said it, he can't stay on first. Like, I don't think he was even dreaming that his teammate was going to dive bomb him into a chicane that easily could have taken them both out. Like, if I was running McLaren, I would have been yelling at Piastri to give the spot back, because he risked your manufacturer's championship at that point. Like, if he clips them and they're both out, you're probably getting so far behind you're not catching it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something in his contract or something, or I don't know what it is. But you're right. I honestly think if they keep up how good they are compared to Red Bull, Lando's going to show up a couple points short of Max. He won't catch him. Yeah, and there'll be a couple of these races you look back and say, hey, if you'd let him pass Piastri here. And I mean, in fairness, at Monza, Piastri was faster. You couldn't catch him. So fine, but you don't have to dive bomb your teammate in the second corner. Yeah.
I mean, like, if I'm totally honest, I loved it. I thought it was great and feisty. And if I was Piastri, like, this is what you got to do. Because if Piastri just sits back and takes it, he will then be, like, unofficially the number 2 driver, and his whole career is just that from now on, right? Like, he has an opportunity here to do it, and he's got to push everything he can. The only, like, I don't blame Piastri for it. I think McLaren should be stricter on it, but maybe they can't, or they just can't control their drivers, right? Like, I think this is the huge risk. We saw it back in the Hamilton Rosberg days of you need to have a clear number 1 and number 2 driver. And there's great benefits to that. They help you out, right? Like, Hamilton had Bottas for most of those years, and it was a clear 1 and 2. Think about the Schumacher Barrichellos, all that stuff, right? It helps a lot. So
Max Verstappen and half the world,
half the grid at least. Yeah, who can they pick?
Yeah, like, and I have no problem with them racing each other, and the faster car should win. But it's just where he did it. Like, I was watching, I was like, I thought for sure they're going to collide. And then on the other side, at the end of the race, he was trying to chase down Charles for the win, which that's what you're supposed to do. But with a couple laps left, his tires were done, and he was making no ground. And Lando was a couple seconds behind, or several seconds behind, but he was also decently ahead of the next person. So, like, the client should have said, hey, like, give him second. He needs those couple points. Like, second to third, that's not a big deal. You're not taking a race win away. But anyway, we'll see.
And it's funny, actually, because with Red Bull, this is sort of, we've talked about this, I think, before the summer break, about how Red Bull could hold on to the championship here or Max could, if they just trade off enough wins against each other, right? Like, Hamilton won a couple, Norris won a couple, Leclerc won a couple. If nobody wins enough, like, Max can be a championship champ. He can be the world champion this year without winning another race.
Oh yeah, easy. And like I said, like, there's 8 races left, so the next 2, we'll see what sort of they come out of. But if it's a similar gap, then it's done. But if Norris can start picking off, I mean, I still believe McLaren will get the manufacturers. They're so close now.
Yeah.
Assuming they don't take each other out. But yeah.
You have to think, if Piastri starts encroaching all the more on Norris's points and starting to make it closer, he will be less and less inclined. And to be fair, as long as he's mathematically not eliminated from the championship, I think he really has every right to get in there and push. So you could see it blowing up between the two McLaren boys before long. So.
Yeah, and I mean, they always seem to get along, but I get it. Everyone wants to be champion, especially in this era, but there's a decent gap between them still. I mean,
yeah.
Piastri could pass Norris, but he's not going to pass Norris and get first. It
seems very unlikely, unless Max like DNF several times in a row or something. So,
like, if things keep up, I could totally see McLaren being second, third. Like, they could pass Charles. I mean, Charles got a bit of a gap off of Piastri last week, but they just had that car set up for Monza. That's their race, right? Like they just let it hang out with the speed, and then
and they took a huge gamble, right? Like, I was actually watching those last races, thinking like, the tire could blow if you dragged it out that long. They really took a gamble, and it paid off. It was a bold move, but I'm sure everybody in Italy was pretty damn happy about that win. So it was great to watch. Like, I'm not saying I'm anti-Ferrari. I'm not like one of the tifosi, but I just it was great. Like, the passion. It's like, watching some of these like world-class teams win in their own backyard is always just a great feeling. You just can't help but get caught up in all the great cool selfies they showed, and there's something about that. So, and goodness knows Ferrari hasn't had a ton to cheer about in the last decade or so.
Yeah, well, we got a week off and then back at it next week. We'll see if Bierman can pull ahead of Magnussen in the points. They're currently tied at 6 each. So.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us again, and enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this week's episode. We'll just sort of fill everyone in on what we've been up to this week and what's ahead next week. So this week, I didn't have to go anywhere, which is kind of nice. And I've been driving something I've been wanting to drive for at least a year and a half now, the VinFast VF8. Last year, a lot of people drove it overseas, and those are prototypes that were not fully ready at all. I mean, I think even they'd admit, I had a little presentation before I got in it. They have changed like everything, like down to like, we put different window motors in for the power windows, and we updated how the software works for this little thing. So I'm not going to spoil anything till I get the video and review out, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
What have you been up to, Kyle?
I mean, to celebrate the back to school season for us, I know that maybe folks in the States already sent the kids back last week. But yeah, to celebrate, I'm driving two very practical cars, the BMW Z4, and the AMG GT. Now, admittedly, the Mercedes could have back seats. It could be a 2+2, but this is not how this one is spec'd. It is a 2-seater. Yep. So that is the new sports car that is targeting the 911. And to do that, it has become more like a 911. It's all-wheel drive. It has rear seats. It's a little less blood-spitting maniac versus the previous generation. But it still sounds like Rolling Thunder, and it looks incredible. So that's been an interesting one. And the Z4 is the manual. And the interesting thing there is, I know everyone compares it to the Supra. The manual does not feel the same as the one in the Supra. It might be better. I'm not entirely sure, but I need to do them back to back. But it really is an interesting car. And yeah, I'm gonna save the rest of it for later too. But yeah, I'm very fascinated by this vehicle.
I'm a little sad that the AMG's not as raw as it was, because that's always loved. Sort of like the Corvette. It's like the old Corvette. This front engine V8 that can hang with supercars, especially like the Black Series and stuff. But I get why they changed it. I'm very jealous that I didn't get to drive it, because I've always loved that car. Maybe
Same.
The next one that comes on, I'll try to get in. As far as the manual, I have a theory. It's a complete theory and complete guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if more robust, stronger parts are put in the Supra's manual compared to the BMWs, because of the demographic that will drive them. The BMW will just be driven, a little more gentlemanly, and people have fun, or maybe they'll even track it, but they'll be doing it. Whereas the Supra will be doing probably a lot of clutch drops, drifts, street takeovers, who knows what.
What are you saying about GR Supra owners, Mike?
Not owners. I'm just saying people who are want to buy those cars. I mean,
Ah.
I want one.
Yeah, fair.
All right. So next week, I accidentally double booked myself in 2 very similar vehicles. So I will have 2 EVs, and one's going to be the reasonably sized Hummer
Yep.
SUV.
Very reasonable.
Yep. And the other one's going to be it might be a little too large, but we'll see how it goes. The Fiat 500e.
Oh yeah, that's
So-
enormous.
So yeah, one's gonna. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting image. I was thinking of doing a video of them together, but I probably won't. But
It's
it's the 2
gonna be
extremes
really-
of the EV market right now, right? Like
It's true.
the Hummer's easily the biggest. Like nothing weighs as much as that. And I don't think in North America we have anything smaller road legal than the 500e.
No, and I mean it's gonna be really easy to pick them up because you'll actually just drop the Fiat in the back of the Hummer and just go on your way.
Probably the pickup truck, I totally would.
Oh yeah, you have the SUV.
Maybe we should go to U-Haul and rent a car dolly.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I am also in an Altium vehicle. Although I would love to park them side by side and see how much they actually share under the skin. I will be in the Chevy Equinox. We talked with some of the Chevy folks behind it a few weeks ago. I'm very much looking forward to it because it's supposed to be the affordable family EV. So I really want to see what it's like to live with for a week. It looks good. So yeah, although it's gray. This one's going to be gray again. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then also I'm double booked. We might have mentioned on the podcast last week that I am in the Elantra N because I will be taking that to the N meetup here in Toronto next weekend.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll be there too with my car. Although the Hummer would be a lot of fun. But
Tow your car with the Hummer.
hey, don't joke about that. It might be getting to that point. All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Auto Guide Show brought to you by eBay Motors. We'll be back next week with a whole bunch of new stories and information and hopefully some reviews. Until then, we'll see you later.
So long.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Your elbow grease, fresh installs, and a whole lot of love transformed 100,000 miles and a body full of rust into a driveway entirely its own. Brake kits, LED headlights, whatever you need, eBay Motors has it. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.